Okay, so thank you, Lisa. This is Aron Crowell again at the Smithsonian Arctic Study Center, and Dawn and I will be talking here for the next few minutes. Maybe just a reminder to mute. We are going to play some video from one of our websites as part of it too. So, as I mentioned, we're at the Arctic Study Center office in Anchorage. And our research and educational program has been here since 1994. Our program is strongly collaborative with several different branches of the Smithsonian, including National Museum of Natural History, National Museum of the American Indian, Smithsonian Center for Learning and Digital Access, and then with Alaska Native communities all around the state and the Anchorage Museum. And we're going to be focusing on our online educational resources today, but those all have their origin in a major exhibition project that we developed here.
And I just wanted to pause and ask, can everybody see the shared screen I activated? It has Alaska Native collections on top.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and if people could just unmute their mics, that would be helpful, because otherwise we might lose that screen. I mean, everybody mute their mic, sorry.
Okay, so as I mentioned, we worked with Alaska Native advisors, elders, consultants from around the state to create an exhibition called Living Our Culture, Sharing Our Heritage, the First Peoples of Alaska, which has been on display here at the Anchorage Museum at our center since 2010. And part of that, developing that exhibition, which has over 600 objects from both National Museum of Natural History and National Museum of the American Indian, brought back to Alaska for appreciation and use by Alaska Native communities, the source communities. And part of the process of developing that exhibition included a number of trips to Washington with advisory groups from here in Alaska, from all different parts of the state. And we would meet in the collections areas of both of the Smithsonian museums and talk about the objects and document them. And what Dawn is showing here first is a page from our exhibition website. This is the online documentation of those discussions, and then matched with the photography, with historical information about the objects that we have from anthropology and historical resources. And you can see at the bottom under elders discussion, we have a transcript of the information that was shared about this bentwood hunting hat from the Aleutian Islands. And we're focusing today on STEM, and just wanted to mention that any object in our collection and in this online exhibition as well has many dimensions of Indigenous knowledge, including the technical and design aspects, as well as the artistic aspects and cultural historical dimensions. Why don't we take a look at the fish skin bag? There's a huge variety of materials, and all of them represent a very specialized knowledge as well as artistic presentation. This is a bag from the—
Aron, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are seeing the background screen now, not the bag.
Are you seeing a whole web page or just—
We are seeing an iceberg.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's strange. Okay, let's try. Where's the?
It popped up there for a moment and then disappeared.
Oh, I see. Okay, let's try this. Did that work?
No, unfortunately not. You haven't hit share screen. So
It does. It is shared screen. It has.
Oh yeah, actually, Yeah, sorry, it is, I am looking at your screen, but I am looking at the iceberg.
Well, I'll just, hopefully the other things we'll show online will work better. I'll just describe that this is a very comprehensive website, and it was our way of publishing the information that elders had shared. Oh, we're good now. Okay.
Yep.
About these objects. So I'll go on to talk in a minute about the programs that came out of the exhibition, and we were in working with our advisors on creating it. We had a mandate to make this more than an exhibition, to make it a resource for community education and for cultural, in support of cultural vitality and in Alaska Native communities. So maybe what I'd like to do is to talk about those programs a little bit. So since 2010, when the exhibition opened here in Anchorage, we have co-organized a number of programs focusing on Alaska Native languages, arts, indigenous knowledge, and these are all to do documentation, cultural documentation. And this has been, this takes place here in the museum for example, museum residencies or language seminars, but then also out in communities where there will be workshops, associated workshops. And this has all been a process of developing a fairly large body of online educational resources. So I think maybe you can see our YouTube channel at the moment, which is where Dawn has, why don't we mute that? Yeah, where Dawn has published all of these video series. Now, we have a number of them on here. They will be about, for example, how to make fish skin objects, like we just saw, the fish skin bag. These focus on bentwood hats, seal intestine clothing, fish skin clothing, cedar basketry, and a whole range of others. And in these video series, you have comprehensive documentation about the cultural background and the how to actually make the pieces, and a lot about the design. So maybe just to give you an idea, I thought we'd show a clip of from one of our recent projects. This is on tanning and sewing moose hide in the Athabascan communities.
And my apologies, I had all of his points queued up on separate windows, but that's not working on this platform, so I'm having to navigate within, so it's just taking a little longer.
Today's contemporary life, you work within contemporary constraints of our world. We all have jobs, we all have responsibilities from Western culture, and doing this work is bringing us back to that important aspect of who we are, and that's respecting the animals and the sentient nature that gives itself to us, respecting its materials. It's important, and we're trying to bring it back and make it make it something that can endure.
So if you go to this site, and then you can look at the 20 or so short films that follow that are about all steps in preparing moose hide, scraping them. You saw some of the steps there, sewing them, and that is a way that we have made this information, which is coming from elders. It's coming from, we think of them as cultural activists who are artists. They are very, very interested in bringing these this indigenous knowledge actively back into their communities, and it has a large number of benefits. And so this is the way we see it, is this is the way that the museum, through its exhibition and associated programs, is giving back to communities and helping them with their grassroots efforts at cultural revitalization. So I wanted to show another clip. This is from our also recent, a couple years ago, arts residency and community workshops on traditional weaving with red cedar bark, making baskets. And this is filmed partly here in Anchorage and partly down in Metlakatla. And we'll just start, I thought Candy McGilton, who you'll see here now, gives an interesting, really good introduction to the meaning of this program in her community.
Traditionally, weaving was passed on from grandmothers and mothers and aunties to the children, the grandchildren, nieces. But nowadays, I think with modern technology and people having busy lives and jobs that take up their entire day, it's hard to get that knowledge passed on from one generation to the other. And a lot of those ladies who did weave as a full-time job, they're not here anymore. And so that chain of knowledge has kind of been broken, kind of like the language. Some of are just phenomenal weavers that we no longer have with us.
So the next clip we'll look at is with the elder teacher, very distinguished artist, Dolores Churchill. And in this phase, this is down in Metlakatla on Annetta Island in Southeast Alaska. And Dolores is taking the students in the class out to do the bark gathering. So it's the other one, Dawn, the intro one.
Oh, it's in the intro.
Right.
Okay, sorry, it was taking a minute to get there.
No, it's number one.
I already did that. Isn't it number 4?
Yes, number 4
Okay,
at the beginning.
Okay.
Oh yes, this is good. This is the group preparing to go out.
When we go into the forest, we are guests, and we need to respect everything that's in the forest and be careful with how we handle the material, how we handle ourselves. And my mother always spoke to the trees and hoped that we didn't harm those trees, that we will use the bark for beautiful baskets, and that we will respect everything, even the rocks.
Okay, so now they're out actually harvesting the bark.
Okay. There you go. Don't forget, you have to stand at right angles to it. Pull it, keep pulling it up. Uh-oh. You were right. It should have been over there. Okay. Oh, he went a long way, though. Uh-oh. Now you need brute strength.
So as you can see, Dolores Churchill is a wonderful teacher. I just thought that it's just interesting that just to show the context of these programs. These are very community-based, and we have really, and they're presented by community members to members of their own communities for the purpose of bringing back these arts and knowledge. And so I think we have one last clip, which is just continuation of the basketry.
Oops, that's the wrong spot. Hold on. 11. I'll just pick another spot.
It's going to give us that nice round corner coming up the side of the basket.
So these videos really document in detail exactly how you make these objects. And basketry is very complex.
Make sure I didn't drop any stitches before I get too far past this corner.
Okay, so I think that just gives you a little taste. Imagine that we have hundreds of hours of edited documentation online for many different arts from all parts of Alaska. And so this is a very large educational resource. You can look at it from a STEM perspective. You can look at it for the cultural insights that it offers. And so this, the audience for this type of work has been artists and educators and students, but we were looking for the opportunity to create a website that was more specifically targeted for Alaska classrooms and teachers to create a curricula based on this material. And that led to the Learning Lab project, which will be the last thing we'll talk about. And I will invite Stephanie and Tracy to say something about this too before we actually look at the site online. But the idea of the Learning Lab project is to make a very accessible program. We want to push adoption all across the state, a statewide rollout in all 52 Alaska school districts. We're right now just in the early stages of working with this grant, which is a youth access grant from the Smithsonian to build this website with a great deal of help from the Smithsonian Center for Learning and Digital Access. And our goals are to get this, the indigenous knowledge that we've been sharing here with the video clips into a very useful format for use in the classroom. And I don't know, Stephanie or Tracy, if you wanted to introduce your center and what you do, and you're our great partner in this project, and happy that you could join us.
Thank you. This is Stephanie, and I'll say a few words about maybe our office and how Learning Lab came about, and then Tracy can talk about how we work with groups to create content, for example, working with you. We are a central office of education at the Smithsonian, so we work with all the museums and research units, but our focus is primarily on K-12 education. And we have a number of national partnerships, for instance, with the heads of education in different states through the Council of Chief State School Officers. And what they asked us for is they said that what they were looking for from the Smithsonian is to make all of our resources available to schools in rural areas and urban areas that don't have access to them, that can't come to the Smithsonian. And that what they really wanted to do was to provide authentic materials that represented the voices of diverse people across our country, and also to bring the scholarship to it. So it was the resources combined with the scholarship and bringing in authentic voices is what they were looking for. We used to publish publications that we sent out, but now in a digital world, more and more schools have access to digital technology. And so we're now creating, instead of doing formal publications, we're created Learning Lab, which is a site where people like the Arctic Study Center can produce their own content in collaboration with communities. And with that, I'll turn it over to talk a little bit about what the lab does and how we do it.
Sure. Well, Stephanie, I think you covered most of all about the Learning Lab, but it was very exciting for myself and our office to work with Dawn and Aron from the Arctic Studies Center to put together this content. This is our first example of working with a curatorial group to repurpose cultural content to create these collections that have elders discussions, the history, and it's really taking museum resources and really building on them and layering on them and adding in that community aspect that Aron was talking about. So it's been very exciting. I was able to go to Quinnipiac off the Bering Sea and participate in a workshop that Dawn led on making twine grass baskets that eventually we will make into a collection. But as Dawn will show you, she's really been able to take the content of this wonderful exhibition and really build upon it to create these collections. And we'll be very excited to share it with the students and teachers of Alaska. So with that, I will turn it over to Dawn.
Yeah, so the thing I have up on the screen now is the Learning Lab site that's under construction. And we were really excited to have the opportunity to work with Skilda because the research that we do comes from different places and is an interdisciplinary look at curatorial work. So it really provides a diversity of content for students and educators. As Aron has talked about, some of the research was done directly with Alaska Native elders and culture bearers for the exhibition. There was research done for contemporary and archival photography and film footage. There was research done in terms of the ongoing programs that we do that are documenting and collaborating on the revitalization of at-risk art forms and materials. We talked about fish skin. There's also been sea mammal intestine, even the red cedar bark that we looked at earlier. Candy mentioned that some of the former teachers have passed, but also red cedar bark and Metlakatla is at risk because of climate change. It's changed the harvesting seasons, it's changed the quality of the materials, and Tracy and I found that that's also an issue in Quinnahock where we worked in terms of traditionally harvesting grass. Climate change has affected the normal harvesting season and the quality of the materials, and we were actively working on a workaround to create an opportunity to make similar quality of materials for grass weaving. And we worked in a kind of basket that was rediscovered through archaeological remains through a Nunalak project going on in that Yupik community. So it's a type of basketry that people really are looking forward to reviving in their community. So the site itself has a few different types of collections. The first that you see here is an opportunity for students to learn about the different Alaska Native communities. And we'll pick one here. And this draws, like I said, from, you can see, you saw a glimpse of the essay there. That's from the exhibition catalog. It's an introduction to the Athabascan cultures written by Athabascan elder Eliza Jones. And then you have some images here that are contemporary communities, contemporary images of communities, objects from the Smithsonian collections, also archival images that are available. And you know, students have a chance to learn, especially through the information about the images, not just what they're seeing in the image, but how it relates to living in that community today. That this picture represents the importance of young boys and girls to learn about subsistence, how to provide food for their families. And that's something that has been going on for thousands, if not 10,000 years in these regions. And it's an example of the cultural continuity in their communities and the importance to learn about the environment, about the animals on the land, and about seasons, and about sustainable harvesting of those resources. We're gonna navigate back here. So the next section Tracy spoke about, and this is an area where we're gonna work with people that we've worked with in the past on these programs to create a collection for their own community that'll incorporate resources from the Smithsonian. It can incorporate resources from their community in terms of photographs, film footage, information in text form. And these we're going to be building out as we move forward on the grant. And they can also pull from the video footage that we've done already, and which have been done in all of the communities shown here. And then these are another location where the videos you saw on YouTube live. And what's really nice about this site is that we're pulling information together in a cohesive way, clustered for students and teachers that are pulling from so many different resources. And this makes them available all for free, all in one place, all in one-stop shopping, because as we all know, teachers, you know, you want to provide them with resources, but you can't make those resources make more work for them. So if you choose one of these community video sections, you have, again, an introduction, the community videos, some objects from the Smithsonian collections that relate to what's being addressed here. And again, these videos provide information about the artists, about the communities they come from, and about how to process fish skin into a material that you could use for projects.
You see in those images the teachers in the residency here, the arts residency, actually they started with salmon, whole salmon, and skinned them and processed the skins and went through every step of making a bag, just like the UPIC one that we saw at the beginning of the presentation. So it's what is all the knowledge behind these museum objects is what they're explaining.
And when we have these programs here at the Anchorage Museum, we have school groups come in and they have not only an introduction to the artists in the area that they're working with and have a chance to talk with them, they work on a project themselves related to that material while they're here. And then a final section is about educational resources. So it pulls from things on this site and from elsewhere. For the ones that you just saw there, those are the ones where we've had opportunity to create either lessons or a curriculum or a unit on different subjects. And this one, for example, is about the importance of salmon for Alaska's peoples, indigenous peoples. And again, you see a contemporary example of someone processing salmon, and then an archival one. So again, to kind of give some context and cultural continuity. And then there's a curriculum that they can download for free. And I'm gonna have to do that screen switch again. My apologies. It's gonna take a minute to get it to work. Almost there. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing the curriculum now. And we took a real interdisciplinary approach to this curriculum. You can see in this table of contents that it talks about the environment, sustainable harvesting of locally available renewable resources, about students being able to do research themselves about salmon, learning how to make things with salmon skin, and that refers back to the videos that you saw. They can even explore museum online collections, and they can also try their hand at using media to communicate with about subjects like salmon, like they've seen during this lesson. And so I'm going to scroll down to one of them. So for example, researching salmon, the teacher has an outline that shows them how to implement the lesson in their classroom. It has an answer sheet, so it has instructions, then it has an answer sheet. So again, we're providing all the resources a teacher needs to implement this without creating extra work. They have an answer key for a handout. This is a handout that they can print. And then we took it a bit further, and in the state of Alaska, there's, sorry to scroll through all this. For the state of Alaska, there's two sets of standards. There's culturally responsive standards, and we've shown how all of these meet those standards. And then there's also the state education content standards. And so we show how the content we're providing correlates with that. So again, teachers can, check those boxes for what the requirements are for their end. And then we even have additional resources for students and teachers, and then enrichment activities. And so part of what we're doing when we circle back to those community collections that I showed you on the Learning Lab site is we're going to work with people from those communities to create educational resources for the sections that don't have them yet. And we have an opportunity to work with 3 or 4 more communities to do that. And Tracy and I are going to start with that UPIC village of Quinnahock, and we're starting next month, and we'll have another trip to that village in April to work with teachers there in person as well.
And just to say, thank you, Dawn, and just to say a final word about the project. We look at this as phase 1, as actually building this Learning Lab site and getting some initial material up there. But then I think phase 2, we'd like to continue next year with additional funding to publicize this project and to really go for statewide adoption, because I think it's a unique and rich resource that is not available in any other way. The culturally responsive education that you see here, it's not available any other way in Alaska. So it's a great partnership with Skilda to do it.
And I'd like to point out that over the years, teachers have routinely told me that there isn't good content regarding Alaska Native cultures for them as educators. And they're kind of flying blind in terms of having to find it on their own and hope that it's of good quality. And so what Learning Lab provides is a vetted, high quality, you don't have to second guess it because it's going to be top-notch material. And then also, over the years, we've been able to disseminate our resources as much as possible. And and our ability to do that is fairly restricted, but I'll still get inquiries from teachers from around the state and even outside of the United States, because they're very excited about using Alaska Native curriculum in their classroom, because it immediately gets their students' attention and it's immediately engaging. And given the nature of Alaska Native knowledge, it's also interdisciplinary in and of itself and really hits the sciences. You know, if you look at a museum object, your first thought might not be that it embodies a wide range of scientific knowledge, but it does. You just have to start digging into it. And the teachers I speak with, both in Alaska and outside, find that very exciting as an opportunity to really engage students and to get really good responsiveness from students.
So thank you. I think we've run through our time, but really appreciate the chance to share this project.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We really appreciate that presentation, and I think in the interest of time, we'll move on to our next presentation, which is, Sarah, remind me?
It's
Sarah,
Bill.
do you want?
Yep. Yeah, and then maybe when Bill's done, we can open it up to questions for anybody from the Smithsonian.
Okay. This is going to be real short. I just wanted to just alert the people in the session here and have them spread the word about the many fellowship and internship opportunities at the Smithsonian. And I'm not sure if Sarah can put up the SI website that shows this, but we have two sections. If you go to the SmithsonianOFI.com, you'll find a couple of fellowship and internship sections there. And we're a huge outfit. We have, like 5,000 employees, and we have opportunities for interns and fellowships throughout the entire Smithsonian. Everything from exhibits to research to publication to all the different sciences. All the different departments have their own, fellowship and internship opportunities and so on. So if you go to that site, just tell folks to check in. We're kind of like a major university in terms of the educational opportunities that we have, and people get a chance to specialize, work on material culture, on animals, on paleo issues and so forth. So just check it out and spread the word to your students, because we love to get people here and working in all sorts of capacity with the scientists, and also these programs are available in Anchorage for Aron and Dawn. They have opportunities that can come to them through the fellowship and internship thing. So just you check it out, and I hope you'll apply.
Bill, I'll put the link in the chat box, and it will also be in the meeting notes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks. And we have one more presentation. We've got.
So it might make sense just to ask if there are any questions now for the Smithsonian, because we have quite a few of the Smithsonian folks on the call, if there are any questions. And then I think hopefully, Serena, you're going to cover for Kaya on the workshop.
Yep, that sounds good.
Great. So I don't know if there's any questions for Dawn or Aron or Bill or any of the other folks that from Smithsonian that are on the line. Now would be a good time to ask those.
Hi, this is Maida Chobadi-Has. I have a quick question for Dawn and Aron about the original website that I've been using for teaching the Alaska Native collections. So I think that's Flash-based. Are there any plans to move it out of Flash, since Flash is not going to be supported, and then to place it somewhere else?
Medea, thank you for that question. The site has, it's old. It's been up since 2006, and we are actively working right now to just rebuild it in Drupal at the Smithsonian, a new Smithsonian hosted site. And so, yes, it will be completely reformatted. We hope to have all of the same information and resources on there, but it'll be in a more supportable site. So we'll keep in touch, and we'll certainly be publicizing the new site when it's done, hopefully sometime this year. And there will be a link going to the new site for anyone who accesses the old one once it's taken down. So, and I'm glad that you have found it useful in your classes.
And also the Learning Lab site isn't complete yet, but it is live now. So some of the resources from the Sharing Knowledge website are on that Learning Lab site.
Oh, okay, awesome, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Don and Aron, it's an amazing feat. I think you gave a presentation about this about 2 years ago, and it was really much more infant at that point. It's amazing to see what you've done in the last couple of years. It's really impressive and very exciting. I'm glad you had an opportunity to share it with us.
I have a quick question. And do you find that you've gotten a lot of traffic, or an increasing amount of traffic, or on your site, or how are you gauging whether?
We do the metrics, and it's to the old website, to the one that's still up that Medea mentioned and we showed at the beginning. We get about 100,000 a year visit that site online. I should mention that the same website is also accessed by several 100,000 museum visitors every year, because it's available through the information kiosks in the exhibition itself. So I think we can claim that as users as well. We want to grow that, of course, and I'm hoping that the new collections website and then the Learning Lab site will both grow increasingly large audiences. So.
That's impressive. Thank you. So I think now are there any other questions? I think we should go ahead and move on to the upcoming, some of the business of the committee, which is to host an Arctic STEM workshop. And I'm going to let Serena talk about the plans for that. Serena, are you on?
Yep. Hi. Great. Well, thank you. I will give everybody a quick update and overview on where we're at. So for those of you who don't know, IARPC and ARCUS are putting on a series of listening sessions and a workshop focusing on increasing the engagement of Alaska Native and rural Alaskans in Arctic STEM. So we have a series of 4 listening sessions coming up over the next 4 months, and then a more formal workshop that's going to take place in April. So we have the dates solidified for the listening sessions. The first one is going to be at the Alaska Marine Science Symposium in Anchorage. It'll take place on January 29th, which is a Wednesday, during the second half of the Ocean Educator Night. So it'll take place from 6 to 7 p.m. At the Hotel Captain Cook. And all the listening sessions are sort of a shared space for discussing challenges in Arctic STEM, and an opportunity for people to attend and share their ideas, perspectives, and lessons learned that they have on increasing engagement. So the second listening session will be at the Alaska Forum on the Environment on Tuesday, February 11th from 3:30 to 4:45 p.m. And then also at the Alaska Forum on the Environment, we'll have a listening session on the Friday, February 14th from 10 a.m. to noon. And the Friday one will be very focused on students, but anyone who is there is still welcome and encouraged to attend either one or both. And then we will have another listening session in Fairbanks during the One Health workshop. The One Health workshop is taking place from March 11th to 14th. And I believe the listening session is tentatively scheduled for March 13th, but I'm still waiting on confirmation as to if that has been solidified and what the exact timing is on that. But once I have it, I can let Lisa and Sarah know, and they can share with everybody the update. And then we'll also have a series of listening sessions with ANSEP students from the Alaska Native Science and Engineering program, to get as much of the student perspective as possible. So if anybody is at any of these events or isn't, but is still able to attend some of these listening sessions, that would be really fantastic. And then basically what is learned from these listening sessions is going to inform a more formal 2-day workshop that will be hosted in Fairbanks at the International Arctic Research Center. And the dates for that are April 28th and 29th. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I can also send out in a note these dates and times so that you have them. But again, we really want to encourage people to attend these listening sessions so we can really get as many perspectives and ideas as possible. So thank you.
I have a question. Has there been any discussion about trying to visit a couple of more remote communities and talking with people who don't actually have the ability to come into some of these events in the urban areas?
Yeah, we did discuss that, and we sort of, for a while, were hoping to do that, and it just didn't end up really being feasible this time around. But we're hoping by sort of having a spattering of different events that we'll be able to access some of that without going to the communities. But it would have been really great to be able to do that, but unfortunately not this time around.
Well, you know what you might want to do is also think about, is there a way to use some of us that are involved? In December, I was in Arctic Village in Venati, and, I am sure that there would have been an opportunity, if I'd asked for it, to talk to some of the high school students in either one of those on behalf of this. And so that's something to think about, is that if there's a way to, if you have a clear protocol, this is not human subjects research, this is simply trying to understand views in order to form federal programs. So, you could use your network, because having done focus groups from the Arctic Youth Project, which we will get a report out, I think, in 2 months, there's a lot of sense that, we educators have no understanding of what rural youth really are interested in. And I think this is one of those places where you're making a great investment, but you might be missing some of the people who would tell a very different story from what you're getting in those meetings.
Yeah, thanks, Diane. I think that's really good advice, and I'll take that back to the steering committee and see if we can't make some of that happen over the next couple months. So thank you.
Great.
Hey, Serena, this is Sarah, and following up on Diane's comment, let's get all the material that you just shared posted on the IARPC Collaboration's website as an update, and then get the dates on the calendar. But I also think that maybe sending it out via Arctic Info would also reach a really, really broad audience as well, and asking people if they would like to be part of this network or a surrogate in this network, that you might get at least a few responses, and a few is better than none.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I will make sure to do both of those things.
Hello, this is Louis. I want to confirm the dates for the workshop. So it's not going to be April 21st to the 23rd anymore?
No, it is now the 28th and 29th of April in Fairbanks at UAF.
out into the, can you hear me? People out, thank you, Diane, for those comments about getting other people to volunteer to maybe talk to some of the students in remote villages, and we will follow up with you on that. Thank you. Any other last minute member updates?
If I can, just very quickly, yeah, some of you know I'm on the board of the Arctic Research Consortium of the US, ARCUS, and also involved in IASA. We have 3 different projects are all converging in Anchorage that week of the 20th to the 24th. I'm part of a research collaboration network, Arctic Frost, and the last product of that RCN is a book around education and sustainable development, both how you teach about sustainable development, and then also what is the role of education in sustainable development efforts. So we're doing a 2-day book crafting workshop, but there will be a public event on the evening of the 21st, where some of the scholars working in this area will present. That will be at UAA. On the 22nd and 23rd, we're bringing in our UArctic thematic network on teacher education for social justice and diversity. Also doing a second book project. Hopefully you guys have seen the first book that we put out. It's was an Arctic Council, it was a product of the Finland Ministerial, but this second product, as we're doing a book workshop again on the evening of the 23rd, we will have a public event sharing sort of the lessons for US or Alaska schools
day of month and day of week
that we can share from our colleagues from Finland, Norway, and other Arctic nations. And then on the 24th, we will have
because that's when you get it to just click on leadership.
Anchorage.
Okay, so I just have to click on leadership. That's what I want. Or any other one. Okay.
Sorry, somebody needs to go to mute because we're hearing background conversation. Thank you.
So and then on the 24th will be the 4th Anchorage Arctic Research Day, which brings together members of the Arctic research community. We're going to host it back at UAA this year, but in partnership with APU, and the focus will be around some of these education conversations. Obviously, I'm hoping our Smithsonian colleagues will participate and others who are in Anchorage. It's a neat opportunity to bring together people from federal, state, local, tribal, and academic and not-for-profits who do work in Arctic research with the goal of building our community across these sectors. And so if you are in Anchorage, or if you might be in Anchorage on Friday, April 24th, we'd love to see you at UAA.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Can I ask you to please post those on the website? And I'll link them to the STEM group and everything, because that's just really valuable information. And you can post them either as events or as an update or as both. It seems like there's enough material there for an update, and then click in the 3 events so people can get them onto their calendars.
Yeah, I need to confirm the spaces for the evening events, and then I will have everything written up. I'll have separate flyers. So yes, I will get that.
Perfect. Thanks, Diane. I really appreciate that. I know a lot of people will be interested. It sounds like April is a good month to be in Alaska.
It's always beautiful.
Yeah, but with 2 events, 1 week after the next, it is a good opportunity. Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Any last announcements?
Just to watch the website, we'll have another meeting of this group in the 2nd quarter. We haven't set a date yet, but we'll send out an announcement to everybody who signed up for the STEM team on the website. And just to thank again Smithsonian for really a really interesting presentation. Lots of good material. I did record this, so I'll post it on the website so people can go back and look at it again if you're interested, or pass it on to colleagues who might be interested. Louis, did you have something you wanted to report out on your workshop, your NIH workshop?
I placed the information on the website. We're going to have a second grant writing workshop on August 4th in South Dakota. So if you know anybody that is interested in getting information about NIH funding, please let them know about the opportunity. And they can contact me. Everything is in the link that I sent in the chat. So they can go there and register. There's no charge to register.
Thanks, Louis.
Okay, I think we are out of time. And thank you all for the participation. Thank you, Sarah, for organizing everything. You did a great job. And thank you so much to our presenters. That was fabulous, especially with all the technical challenges. I really, really appreciate it. So we will hold another meeting shortly, and or probably in the next quarter, and we'll let you know, send more information out. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.